Hello, I'm Steve. A little about myself. I'm a retired law enforcement officer with 20 years of service. I began my career in the jail, worked the road, and became an investigator. During my career, my training consisted of everything from SWAT to becoming a state certified crime scene technician. I've investigated crimes from thefts to homicides. After retiring and becoming aware of true crime and web sleuths, I started my channel for web sleuths to better understand the perspectives of law enforcement. Not only do we cover true crime, I go out into the field and assist families who have lost loved ones to homicide and their cases are considered cold. Join me as we look and bring attention to these critical cases.
Hello, everyone. Glad you're able to join us tonight. But if you're new to the channel, as you come in here and you watch this, we absolutely appreciate everyone being here. And we welcome you. The Morning Watch crew is a little bit different show than what my normal structure shows are during the weekdays at 8. But here on the Morning Watch, like I say, we talk about a little bit about true crime, and then some of our old timers. We kind of gravitate towards the Waffle House experience. But while you're here in chat, respect the mods, respect families, respect each other, and we'll have a short presentation. Generally on nights like with the Morning Watch, the presentation is broke up. I'll go in between it and then to chat and answer questions on just about any topic you have. It don't have to be about any single case. So if you have a question, absolutely put it in there, and hopefully I get it. But just bear with me with everything that's going on, and as I try to conquer this here channel. All right, let's see who's in here. We got Roxy, I got Cunningham, Rosemary, and Dave's in the house already. He's up. What's up, Wafflers? And right on, Josephine, getting ready for work. Oh my goodness. Normally, I introduced Waffles last week. This is Hash Bones here tonight. So they kind of changed the name on him. Mrs. Steve, I wanted to call him Barry, like you bury someone, Bury, but Mrs. Steve, my pronunciation and hers is two different ways. So, but we'll see what we go with it. Thuza, good to see you. Triple S, Grace, good to see you. Jinx is in the house, and Ann's already got an order of blueberry waffles, orange juice on the side, and a cup of coffee. Thanks. Oh, Barry Man. That's a good name, Barry Man. Barry Man. Yeah. Okay. One of the things we're going to be talking about is, of course, I've been working trying to get everything called up as for a trip, and just found out tonight that the cold case I'm working in Indiana, I gave the members a quick overview of it earlier today of what was going on with it and some other cases and things. And as I prepped for going to Iowa for the memorial for Lyric and Elizabeth in July, I was also going to go meet with this code case family in Indiana. And I've been working and creating some exhibits for them to present to the attorneys and present to whoever will get some progress on this case moving forward. And when I guess a couple hours ago, I received notice back from the family because I had some other exhibits to show them, and they was glad to see them, and they're already contacting attorneys and things. And so my 5 or 6 day trip to Indiana and Iowa looks like it's got extended out to probably almost 10 days because this family is trying now to take what we've already found out on this new cold case in Indiana and to have a meeting in Chicago later on in the week following July the 15th. So, which, being 10 days on the road, I haven't been on the road that long before, so it will be different, but we'll be creating content while we're out there. I'm not going to close my channel down for 10 days. All right. Let's see who else. Anybody else joined in the house? Let's see here. See through. Good to see you. Pamela, good to see you. Debbie, Cynthia. Let's see here. Call me Kitty. That's a great name. Carol, good to see you. And so there's a lot of things going on. But anyway, one of the things that I want to show y'all that I'm working on this cold case in Indiana, and it's basically about what law enforcement does when the CSI unit arrives on a crime scene. We look at what the crime scene is, but then we also, as we document, photograph, and understand the crime scene, and we try to figure out how we can recreate that crime scene, not just through the pictures. And they have certain technologies now where you 3D scanners and things. But back in the day when I came through, we didn't have that. And so we were into trying to create certain things so that you would be able to see it or use it for testing to see what part of the story that the criminals tell you, or be prepared when you get to court when the prosecution and defense is questioning you, so you'll be able to answer just about anything. So I did a lot of building things, and but one of the things I had to build on this latest case is much like what we did with working off the Murdoch case that Chris and I created a lot of recreations, and Chris did the editing, and we were a step or two ahead of a lot of people, and the things that we brought out came to pass to be explained in court. Very similar, working off just blood stains, a couple of pictures, and some estimation and understanding bullet trajectory, and what blood spatter is, and was able to recreate. Well, this latest cold case that I'm working on is very similar to that, that I have limited information that the family's provided me, but it is very critical, seeing a bullet hole in a wall or two and having those measurements, having blood spatter, and having the narrative in the report that law enforcement's given about this particular case that the family disagrees with, and I recreated certain things, and and through those recreations is what can have an impact and turn a cold case into something that is back in the courts, back in front of a grand jury, and possibly showing that there is a what was staged, and why was it staged, and if there is staging that occurs in a crime scene, and posing and movement of an individual, is for one reason: is to misdirect the investigation. And anytime you have someone that misdirects an investigation is huge. And so we have to look at that. And that's what I did. I'm going to show y'all some examples of some things I've been working on this week. Let's see if anybody else showed up in the chat. We got Katie. Good to see you from California. Crazy California. Man. Let's see here. Dave says, Steve, if you were on or around Logan's Yard, would you be able to hear near the crime scene? I would doubt it, for the fact that when you're down there where the crime scene is, you're looking at a bluff wall. I mean, it's pretty steep. You're down a hole at the creek. And of course, sound waves is direct line of sight. And of course, they can bounce around, and you might. So I would not expect um, that you would be able to hear anything. But when I go back, I'll see if we can't test that from the cemetery down to the crime scene. That's a good question. Um, Hilda is here. WL22 is here. Shelly's here. Good to see you. Yes, Mr. Bones or Hash Bones has got my bulletproof vest on. Various various skin. Oh me, alley cat. Good. Oh, okay. Right on Josephine's in Southern California. All right. Missy skin. Yes. Um, do you have or would you consider getting an Amazon wish list so your subscribers can support you that way? You could list things you need for your investigations. Um, that's true, and uh, I just haven't. I've been so well blessed by this community that uh, I've never had to ask for anything. I have some uh, supporters out there. I have a great membership. We have the foundation, and we're doing pretty good on all of that. And we appreciate it because we are. I'm, I spent. We probably spent on the Amber Crumb case down there. We probably spent close to somewhere between 5 to 8,000, or by the time we get done with it, it'd be close to 7 to 10,000 with the testing on the DNA. And I've got some high technology stuff ordered for another code case that we're working that probably won't run that much. But uh, for the wish list, yeah, there are certain things on there that I could put, and I probably will at some point. Um, and I just, like I said, I'm in awe of all the support that we get. And I've never been in this position of where people want to have such an impact. Um, and, um, and they do. That they, when I go out to these families, it's just amazing. I know it's crazy that for anyone to, um, here I am a year, just over a year now. I started creating content May of last year, and so what are we now? We're at 13 months, and absolutely amazing how much support we have. But yeah, at some point we probably will do that. Um, but right now we're doing um, there's a lot of ways you can support us. Probably one of the easiest ways is through the foundation, because as long as the foundation has funding, it will support all the code cases, the travel, the equipment. Because I bought it on this uh, recreation that you're going to see some of it tonight. Um, we spent quite a bit on it, on mannequins, everything to do what you'll see here in just a few minutes. All right. Let's see here. Let's see. All right. But yeah, at some point we probably will. It's one of those things. Yeah, Steve, hand it over. He needs hair. I'm gonna put a hat on him. I just got to decide what type of hat and when we do. Um, right on Josephine, maybe to buy me a coffee. Yeah, I've seen where quite a few people do that, um, and um, uh, and that's absolutely fine too, because I do drink a lot of coffee. Oh, Grace has been on the website looking at merchandise. Thank you. Um, and yeah, gifts. And Hilda said, good. Sometimes I want to help a little, even if I do not have much myself. And that's the thing is, guys, that I appreciate all the support. I don't care if you just watch, you give it a thumbs up, you watch an ad, you're a member, whatever it is. And I appreciate everybody. It's just absolutely amazing. And channel has grown. We're over 10,000 now. And after 10,000, it slows down a lot, or has for me. But also the content that I've been creating, the more I work on the cold cases, the less time I have to work on some of the creating certain content on certain things. So I had to, there's a fine line there that we work on. But anyway, with that being said, on this code case that I'm working now, we had some pictures of and where the location of a individual was found, deceased, from a gunshot wound. And then we had a couple holes, bullet holes in walls. We had blood spatter, and we had a blood trail that made no sense. And so we had to go in and take those uh, uh, notes that we had from different reports. Had an autopsy report from an exhumed body that was done several years later after the death. There was no autopsy in the original death and the classification of the death. And so one side of the family thought it was one way, the other side thought it was a different thing. And so they contacted me. They've already had one CSI look at it, says, nope, that's impossible. He gave his opinion to a jury. And then here we are, many years later, cold case. And so they asked me to look at it. And so I went in, and some of the things I had to look at and try to recreate is I had to go buy some materials. As you see, this first exhibit is nothing fancy. It's some boards, some plexiglass, and from that boards and plexiglass, we had to create an exhibit, a 3D rendering model of so that it would be what is a section of a wall of drywall. And whereas you can't see through drywall, but to see the trajectory of a bullet, um, we have to use something that's transparent, such as plexiglass, and that's what this was. And so I was able to create this small segment of a representation of a 3D model, see-through model, so that you could see what the wall is. And then I um, uh, zoned it out and mapped it out so that I could recreate the exact um, locations of the bullet holes. And it's important that when you have measurements on two different walls in two different rooms, that everything matches. And you have to do the calculations and everything, and so that you're able to calculate and demonstrate what that trajectory is. And so, of course, gridding it off and then making the measurements and doing this, I was able to, so that I could create uh, this here. And this is once it's mounted on the tripod, and you run a dowel rod through it, you can see um, from right to left, the slight downward angle from the front of the wall, from the entry point, which is to the right side of here, the front panel, and to the back panel, of course, the trajectory slightly downward. And so this is what we build. We build things like this so that you have a visual aid. And whereas one of the things that this family had always been told and argued was that this bullet came from a different part of the room and of where the body is located. And to best explain that, if you look straight across whatever room you're in, if you look straight across that room, dead on to the wall that is um, um, 90 degrees to you, running right to left, that where you're sitting at is where the narrative and law enforcement has always said that where the victim was found, about 10 foot from that wall across the room, straight away from it, is the trajectory of the bullet. And they were looking at a bullet hole that was on that wall, and but they never represented where the bullet hole was on the opposing wall. And so, as you can see with this trajectory, it's from right to left. It is not going straight on at a 90-degree angle to this wall. And so, for that to occur, it's an impossibility, and so that gives um, some clarification and some strength to that one side of the family is correct. Then the other, if the family that's always been arguing that point is correct, then the other family that's been saying no, this is how we found him, and this is the shot is where is where his body was located. This is where it happened, and so someone had to do something, and what would cause that, and so that's what we're trying to get clarification on. All right, let's see what else we got going on here, and then we'll go on with a slideshow. All right. Let's see here. Yeah, we're gonna give you some hair. This thing jumps sometimes. Um, yeah, Mrs. Steve's upstairs asleep right now. Thank you, Alley Cat. We try to put out some as good content as we can, but yes, Josephine, the True Crime Web Foundation. If you go to truecrimeweb.com, uh, the foundation is a nonprofit. What is a 501 C3? I think is the proper order it is. But yes, it's a nonprofit. And on the website, I think Mrs. Steve has linked a blog to it. She went and did her first blog tonight or earlier today, and so she started her a blog, and she's a wonderful writer. And yes, YouTube does take a big percentage. They take, by the time they do taxes and everything, it's probably close to 40%. I think they start off with 30, but when you do the taxes and everything, it comes out to about 40, which is, people can complain or not, but they're a platform that, uh, that they're, whoever their investors are and everything. And it allows a lot of people to go out there and create content, and they don't have to have a brick and mortar store. There's no rent, there's nothing. The only funds um, that they have invested in it is their time. And so, do I think it's high? Yeah, but it's well worth it. Yes, I'm gonna have to get the Star Trek. I gotta see what Bones was wearing. But yes, Bones is one of his names. He has many, many names. Yes, and I don't know how long. Ruckus says that he has an open schedule, so I don't know how long he's going to be able to stay with me because, like I said, we were originally thinking, and the plans have already changed one time, and we're trying to get back down there to Delphi on the 16th. We'll be leaving Iowa on the 15th and trying to get back down to Delphi on the 16th. And then if that happens, I've got to go back to Chicago by the 18th, 19th, or the 20th and meet with some attorneys, reference this very cold case that you're seeing, this 3D model that I'm working on. Yeah, good old sheriff's hat. I've got some cowboy hats somewhere. Yeah, I don't know what the buy me a coffee is. I have no idea. And I guess that's true. What would really help, and you can do it for free, is comment on the video after streaming it over. Is great for the algorithm. Um, Good. I had heard that, and I try to keep up. I'm so far behind on a lot of the chat stuff now. Yeah, he ordered one too many number fives at the Waffle House. Yes, the trajectory is a huge point in this case because if the trajectory is not what is in the narrative of law enforcement and the path of the bullet is separate and different. Now, I've got some other tests because there's a lot more different types of testing I have to do. I ordered a bunch of other materials. Um, the firearms testing starts sometime this week. I had to find a specific firearm that was found at the scene. And for us to make sure everything stays within the parameters of what the case file is, I have to use the same make, models, and types of guns. And so it took me, this was a very odd gun. And so it took me, I don't know, about 3 days to find one. And it should be here by tomorrow or sometime this week. And so then I've got to do a lot of testing with it. Who's yes, they say it was self-inflicted. That's what they're saying. One part of the family says yes, the other part says no. And now with that, let's also um, because when I have this created, then I can take a blue gun. This is not a real gun. This is a blue gun that law enforcement uses for training. And so you can take that and put that rod through this trajectory and stick a firearm on it. And you can see the orientation, of course, from which direction and what the example looks like. This is in Mrs. Steve's foyer. And so um, I have let's see, who is he tonight? Hashbones has been in the hallway up there doing some work with him for the fact that the same trajectory that I'll show you in a minute is very critical because of the path of the wound through the body cavity. And so with the uh, uh, skeleton, I'm able to um, give a visual aid for the path of that gunshot wound, and that's critical. And then, of course, you have where the after the pass through of the round through the body, where it goes through the wall, and so the gun position here is close to where the face of the drywall would be. But anywhere along this upward angle, that round could be fired. It's going to be on the same path because bullets generally they may have a little yaw and stuff when they're going through the human body, but outside of that, whatever they hit, the deflection is minimized until they hit certain things that would deflect, and it takes a lot of soundness to keep or deflect a bullet. And but so you can see this. Then you can see from the other side, or from the edgeways looking at it, of what that path would be in that downward angle. And then I love this picture here. This is our dining room from the other side of the foyer. And so Mrs. Steve has lost her dining room this week and probably next week. But um, we'll get past that. Oh me. What did Dave say the number five were? Oh, the works. Oh man. Okay, Dave. Send me an email. I'm interested in that. Caroline, good to see you. Grace says blog is great. I saw it. Thank you. Yes, Mrs. Steve is doing better. Absolutely. Um, You say the blog will increase your views for sure. I guess, I hope, I don't know, or this will one. I don't know. All right. Cynthia has a question. Steve, do you think Richard Allen is the only suspect, or are looking at KK and TK? Of course, law enforcement looked at KK and TK, and that's going to come up in court, regardless if they're involved with the actual um, homicides. Um, and is it a case of where someone was also watching those communications and stepped in and saying, "Oh, they're supposed to have a meeting, and so I'm going to intercept," and that way they'll take the blame for the homicide? Anything and everything's possible, and it's on the table currently. Um, and there's a lot of coincidences with KK, and I created content on it and looked at it, and I mean, the parallels and the coincidences are huge. Um, the only thing that really ever throws anything into the possibilities to me of that Richard Allen wasn't a lone wolf is the fact that as the girls, when he says down the hill, and why would the girls go down the hill and run right and cross the creek on that path? Whereas one of the girls, all Abby had to do was turn left and run and go home. But now, did fear play a factor, or was there someone else down there on the roadbed at the down the hill? Don't know. And that's the one thing that has always bothered me about what kept the. And I understand the love of the girls for one another would keep two individuals together. If one of them's fighting, the other one's going to stay, and they're not going to split and break up. And um, which I don't know if that played a part in it or he had total control, but there was some reason that they chose to go over there to the Logan properties, which was absolute worst place to ever go, because once you cross that creek and you get up on that little flat, um, you're inside this big old bowl and no way out, and it's absolutely unbelievable. But if and that is something is that, yes, I do believe that Richard Allen is a lone wolf, but I just cannot understand. And the only thing that gives me even a hint there might have been something else is that why didn't they run left versus crossing that creek? I have no answer for that. What a shame you had to buy another. Actually, I didn't have to buy this one, um, but I will have to return it. But Mrs. Steve had already said, "Well, just buy one. We'll use it." Mrs. Steve likes guns as much as I do. What type of gun was you used? It's this make and model here, which right now, until we get through with um, um, the presentations, um, and once I um, get permission from the family, I'll be able to release all that information. Right now, I don't have all the information. I have all the information, but I don't have the where the family says yes, everything can be released. So I don't want to release just parts of it, but that would probably come in um, after the 20th. I'll go ahead and give the name, and then you'll be able to see everything. It's a known case. It's out there. It's been looked at before. Interesting bit of modern art for your foyer. That's funny right there. Oh. Cynthia says, "Does Waffle House serve alcohol?" There's a lot of alcohol drank in Waffle House. They don't serve it, but it's been drunk there. Yes, that's what I'm going to be testing this week. There's a lot of controversy about that round, and I will be testing a certain caliber this week. Next time you're looking for a specific gun, let me know. We have quite an extensive collection. Thank you. Send me an email, and I absolutely will. Appreciate it. No, we don't have a vending machine in the foyer, not yet. That's a good idea. And this is possible that he controlled the girl with some sort of restraint, either rope, cuffs, or tape, and that is possible. Invitation. One thing I've learned from Murdoch, Stock, and Vallow is that the only person who ever really knows what actually happened at these victims' fatality scenes is a perp, and they don't tell. And that's true. It's hard to work on, but you can have a pretty good idea of what went on because bullet trajectories tell a story, blood pattern analysis tells a story, the bodies of the victims tells a story of that you can look at them, see what type of injuries, and if there was any type of struggles. And there's a lot of things out there that tells you, but it doesn't tell you the whole story. But it will piece enough together to get certain information out there. All right, so now we've got that. So through this, on the other end of this, you can see that the gun, and there's a level in there, and then there's a on the other end of the rod where the orange part is a laser, so that you can track where the bullet would have traveled across the room. And so you can see the laser and you see the level. And over on the right hand side of this picture, you can see a tape measure, and there's a orange dot, red dot that's up at a certain distance, because that tells you certain information about after that bullet passed through both the um, one room entry point and then went out through the other room's exit point defect. It traveled across the room and would hit in this position. And we don't have access to this property now. Um, and and I don't know if we'll ever get access to it without a court order. Let's see here. All right. And of course, then we can take the mannequin and run a dowel rod from where on this specific victim there was uh, from the gunshot wound, and in the gunshot wound itself there was some unspent residue and uh, unspent gunpowder that was in the wound channel. And for that to occur, the gun either has to be contact or near contact. And so you can set up, and this is something else that we ordered. And now my brand new mannequin has a hole. Yeah, and all the measurements on this. We had certain measurements about the injuries on the individual, both where the point of entry was, where the exit is, and those are known distances. And recreating the scene, every one of these distances is exact, um, um, from the floor to where they said that the height to the chest entry wound, to the lower back where the exit wound was, and where the placement of the individual, because there's two measurements on this that's critical. The exit wound of the victim was at a specific height. The entry into the wall was at a specific height, and there were 1 inch difference. So that means that wherever along this trajectory, where 1 inch crosses, is where this individual was standing at. If this is a single gunshot wound that caused both the injury through the chest cavity and into the wall. And because these two angles, and what makes me think that they're related is that both angles of what's through the chest cavity and through the wall are very close. Now, the mannequin has to be slightly leaned forward to get this angle. Is that because there was a struggle, or is that, or is it just the yaw of the bullet traveling through the human body and moving a little bit? Don't know which one it is, but it's something that opens up a new evidence argument, and that's what the family has to have is new evidence. Yeah, Richard Allen may have knew exactly where he wanted to carry them. Absolutely, that is a possibility. Yeah, I wish there was a magic serum. Yes, I could not tell you the number of times I've been lied to, even in one day, because as you go to calls, and if you're at any call where there's two people that are on opposite sides and they're arguing, one of them's lying. One of them's telling the truth, one's lying. Uh, and then, of course, when you interview suspects or any of those, they're lying. Law enforcement is a constant having to deal and analyze and understanding evidence and which way do you go. And sometimes do you miss key points? You do. I mean, everybody's human, and sometimes there's some really good liars out there. Ms. Mojo Rising, good to see you. Hopefully, this will be answered next week, Dave. That whatever was on, hopefully, some of the documents that's going to be becoming unsealed and available to the public will come out this week, and I'm looking forward to that. That will be huge. It tells a lot about this case. Hello, Shelley. From your experience, have you seen many self-inflicted injuries in the chest? And yes, and that's one of the points that I told this family on this case here, that on all the self-harm, self-inflicted, that when individuals wish to um, uh, commit this type of injury, the gun is pretty well squared 90 degrees through the heart. This one is not. This one is at an angle. It's a pretty severe angle too, and which would not be what you would, and it's not on the midline, or and a lot of people understand that the heart is not on midline, but I see far more of them in my life that were closer to the midline than what this one is. This gunshot was 2.5 inches out away from the midline, and um, through the chest cavity, through the lung, and downward. And so it was a very odd angle. And I would challenge anyone to go out and ask coroners, medical experts, of all the self inflicted ones, uh, how many of them were at this severe angle? Because you think about it, the individuals that try to do this and they try to shoot themselves through a heart, they do it square on. They don't do any of this angle stuff, and that's odd by itself. Makes no sense. And when things don't make sense, polygraph. Am I too late for the late crew? No, you're fine. Glad to have you here. Um, that trajectory is very suspicious. Was there any life insurance policy that wouldn't pay out if the end came at their own hand? Um, all insurance is paid, and there's other issues too. And yeah, and I've seen it both ways, and it's not always chest. I've seen it both ways, and so I would think it's more. I guess if you looked at the stats, it is more likely, but uh, and you know, there's nothing definite and absolute every time. Yeah, and the area also opinion wouldn't be in self due to the chest in that angle. I would think the person knew him, or it would have been to the yes. And there's possibility that there was a struggle, and that's always been one side of the family's thoughts um, about this. Then of course, I come to the left side where you can see a little bit better of where the placement of the firearm would be. And like I said, we have um, uh, some of the residue that's in the gunshot wound, and for that residue to get there, it's not something that will happen from across the room. And so there's only limited ways that that could occur. And then you do from the overhead looking down, and you can see what that angle would be and where the position of the individual would be from the shot coming out the lower back. And but I sent the family um, a um, a more complete case than what I just showed y'all. But and I've still got 2 more weeks of testing and several other exhibits, and I've got to make some um ballistic gelatin and do some testing on that specific firearm to see if this uh, gun is capable of doing what is in the narrative of law enforcement, because the narrative of what happened in law enforcement is different than this trajectory. And so we have to see which one of them is true and what uh, and what kind of damage is this round capable of. And so that'd be things that we're looking at as we move forward. And it's just like I said, it's some of the CSI stuff that uh, uh, old school. I doubt anyone now builds these things and 3D models. Uh, you've got all this high tech 3D modeling, virtual reality, where you can walk through a scene, and um, which at some point I may um, do that myself. I just don't know yet. Let's see. What was Fuzi going? All right. Caroline says, I wonder what they found in RA's yard, the fire pit and pet grave. Don't know, but that part of the search grabbed me. And that's exactly what I would like to know that they took, because that would be in the return of the search warrant of what properties. And hopefully that'll be something that they will release, and we'll be able to see those items that were seized. And hopefully they did a good job and they processed it correctly. Um, and we'll know that when the trial starts, because uh, we don't want something like what happened with OJ. Oh yes. Regardless, yeah, you're right. Kagan is one of the biggest liars ever, and for whatever reason, law enforcement um, uh, may or may not have given a lot of value to what he was saying. I don't know, but we're going to find out if he was part of the river issues or not with the river search. Just don't know yet. And alpaca, yes. Generally, I've seen a lot more with head injuries than chest injuries, but I've seen a few. I mean, it's not impossible. I just haven't seen. I've never seen one at this angle. That it would. I've never seen one at that angle. Um, like I said, I went out and I presented, I don't know, 10 or 20 people a ink pen. I didn't give them the blue gun and I didn't give them anything that had a barrel with it, but I give them an ink pen and I said, stick this to your chest. If you was going to do self-harm, where would that be? And all of them, the orientation of it was never on everyone I spoke with was ever at this angle. Um, and I know that's a limited, but it was just part of the um, of reinforcing what I thought and to see, because I was going to ask if anyone ever did the angle, uh, what were you thinking and why were you thinking that? And I've not had anyone tell me that yet. So the angle is a very strange angle. Rosemary, very nice of you. That's very kind. Um, yeah, I'm just old country boy that got some training and try to do the best I can. No, I don't think that it would be a unique because it's not waterproof. I guess I could waterproof it, but it's not waterproof. Yeah, I think that more than likely, as the individual turned around, they may have been some type of struggle initially, and he was leaning forward to either strike or was striking when the shot happened. um, Bones behind you, Lieutenant Long Gone. Yeah, he's got his badge on and everything. Um, on this one, I don't know if there was or not. If you're talking about this, I don't know of one. Um, Other people were at the residence at the time, and I haven't seen that document if it related to this case, if there was one. Yes, we don't know, um, and of course, like I said, there's a unanswered blood trail, and for that blood trail to occur, it doesn't match the narrative of where the body was located, unless the injury didn't happen where the body was located. The injury had to happen somewhere else, and that's not what one side of the family says. All right. But I appreciate everybody being here. But yeah, if y'all got any questions about anything else, absolutely ask me. We'll spend a little bit more time with you um, and see what's going on. But if anyone has any questions, or if I know it's not like it's a complete presentation of everything I have, but if you have any questions or ideas or anything about this, or or if it was cleared up any issues. You'll see that once the case is known, it'll make a lot more sense to you than right now. So that hopefully will be, I don't know, just a few, like I said, just a few weeks. I love this picture here. It turned out really well. That gun's floating in there. It looks neat. Oh, Jocelyn's going. Yeah, you can't hang tonight. I hate that. Maybe Perk was also injured in a struggle. Not that we're aware of. It's possible, but not that we're aware of. Hello, Shelley. You got to leave too. All right. Well, I appreciate y'all being here. I'm glad that y'all hung out with me. And, but like I said, I just wanted to share a little bit about what CSI looks at and does. And so that we can answer these questions and see, is the narrative being told by an individual that was on the scene is true or not? Because there was individuals. Oh, okay. Thu's gifted a membership. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. And I think you're talking about with the Delphi. I don't know. I know they found the bullet later in the search. It wasn't on day one, I don't think. Rosemary's going good night. Appreciate you being here. And thank you, Fuza. Absolutely. Means a lot on the support because it allows us to do certain things. And the family was so excited today when they got the case file of just the initial reports on the first exhibits of the mannequin and with this 3D model of the transparent wall. They were extremely happy. And so we'll see where it goes from here. But we couldn't do that. And this, these families, they can't afford to hire private investigators and some of the CSI guys that would do this. Thank you, Miss Mojo Rising, $4.99. Thank you, great investigation. But yeah, I appreciate your support. Couldn't do this without y'all. Absolutely could not. Thank you, Grace. That's very kind of you to say. But still, like I said, I got 2 more weeks of work on this. Just as soon as that firearm shows up, we're going to be doing a lot of. I've got, I guess, enough to make almost 40 pounds of ballistic gelatin, and so I've got a lot of shooting to do, and do a lot of testing on the firearm to make sure that what they say are argue the point that what law enforcement says the narrative is may or may not be true. Hannah, good to see you. And Katie Lynn, good to see you. Glad y'all are here. Cynthia, Sweet Caroline. I take it, Fuza, did you buy do you buy some memberships? Thank you. I'm not on the YouTube side of it, so I don't get to see when Mrs. Steve's not here. She has people that notified us, and when I'm by myself, I don't understand all that. And I don't have the contacts Mrs. Steve has. Oh man. But Mrs. Steve, for some reasons, doesn't like the name Barry. She don't want to name him Barry. So we're not going to name him Barry. Mrs. Steve gets her way quite a bit. Okay. Thank you. Yes. Congratulations to all the people who are new members. That means a lot. Like I said, it does um, allow us to go out, and these families greatly appreciate it. Steve, how does B. Kohlberger not get cut during attack? He may have. We don't know right now. And sorting through that, all that blood analysis, it could be that it's his mixed blood, and he may have cut himself. It'd be very unusual if he didn't. That would be extremely unusual for 4 encounters and not have some type of cut or injury. You're absolutely correct on that. That I would expect him to be have some type of injuries. I have some great supporters out there, guys. It's I don't know. I'll never be able to have all the words to appreciate it, man. Because, like I said, when you see these families and you talk to them, it's off the charts. They just they want someone to listen because, like this family that on this case here specifically, they've been fighting through the courts for years, and they had to fight to get their relative exhumed because there was never an autopsy conducted, and they wanted an autopsy, and they had to take it to the courts. Very similar to what Stephen Smith family went through, and so and it's not easy, and so but they were able to do, and when they fight the courts and fight with the powers that be, and everyone keeps telling them one answer, they're so grateful when someone just will listen to them and try to help them. That's all they care about. They want someone to try. Well, guys, we've been here just over an hour. Absolutely appreciate it. And we thank everyone for being here. And let's see if I missed anything else that's going on. And let's see. It looks like we're about here, about through the end. And there's a couple of reasons. And I thought, who was it had a really good idea about there's an alternative reason he could have went to the doctor, is that to have a doctor look at him, see that he had no injuries. And I think it was, oh God, I can't think of his name. He's he's a law enforcement officer out of New York. Um, God, I can't think of his name. I'm getting old, guys. That's why I support you and the mob crew. It gives people hope that they never thought would come. Absolutely. Like I said, Larry and Drew and this family and some of the other families that um, I've done some consulting on missing family members. Um, I I don't overextend myself on the cold cases too far. When um, I we got past where Amber was, and to where we're at now with a 3-month delay until the court, or not the court, but the lab work comes back. Um, that allowed me to work on this other cold case, so I did so. All right. Yeah, we don't know if there was a guard, but even with a guard, um, a lot of times during struggles, while they're uh, during that type of assault, um, arms get swung, hands get slip, and they'll cut their other opposing arm or their leg or their knee. There's a lot of different ways that people can get hurt. All righty, guys. But anyway, I want to thank everybody for being. Um, no, it's not Duty Ron. It's God. I can't think of his name. He's not a really big channel. But great guy. I just can't think of his name. I'll think of it and I'll let y'all know. But anyway, y'all have a safe night. I appreciate y'all being here. Thank y'all for being here. And I'll see y'all soon. Bye-bye.